Wish that you were better.
All right, I can't hear you for some reason. Hold on. For some reason, I can't hear you now. I don't know what the hell that happened.
Let's
Now
see.
I can. There we go. Yo, I cannot hear you.
Let's see.
No, every now and then I can hear you, and then it goes away. I don't know what's going on.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Let's see. Zoom. Let me put my
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. I don't know what you just changed, but
I didn't change anything. I hate using the software. I like prefer using Zoom. Zoom never gives me any trouble, but for some reason I'm not allowed to utilize this. Can you hear me well?
yeah, I can hear you now. Hopefully we stay that way.
Cool. Does it sound crispy clear? I want to make sure it's because it's sounding a little robotic.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit better now. And there it went again. I don't understand what the hell's going on.
No,
like it's weird. Like I'll hear you, and then it'll completely go away, and then you'll come back.
There we go. Hold on. This is. I think I fixed it. I think I fixed it.
All right, you're good.
Live. Be live. There we go. Awesome. Just there's always technical difficulties with this software. And you know what's funny? They always ask me to rate them, and I never rate them badly because there's always an issue with them, and they always try to charge my ass. So we're live, Mr. Blake, all the way from Baltimore. If you guys are Raven fans, drop in a hashtag Raven. If you're not a Raven fan, just drop in a hashtag Raven. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post this so my team can actually get this linked. Mr. Blake, how you doing? How you doing this week?
I am doing fantastic, brother. How you doing?
Man, I can't complain. Life is good, dude. We're moving. Things are grooving, and super excited. You're coming to Miami next weekend, so we get to actually meet in person. Flying from all the way from, again, Baltimore. So super excited. Guys, if you are live with us, if you can do me one favor before we dive in and drop some amazing golden nuggets. Drop down hashtag live. Once we get a few lives in, I'm going to start our rapid fire questions. I love doing these, consistently doing these. It's amazing meeting people like Blake. This is actually our first time talking ever, guys, just so you know. So I told them I'm gonna keep this completely organic. Every person I've ever had, I've never prepared questions. I watch a lot of podcasts. I feel like I know how to ask questions. So plus I'm a sales guy, so that's all we do, right? So let's dive in. Okay, so Blake, 6 weeks. That's insane. 6 weeks ago, you're a different man, and in just a matter of a month and a half, here you are. So it's crazy, and I'm actually curious because I don't even know how you got started. 6-7 weeks ago, what the heck were you doing with your life? Were you working a corporate job? Were you in marketing? What was your situation?
Yeah, so it's funny. I took a marketing course about 2 years ago, and I did nothing with it, bro. Like literally, I tried to perfect everything. I tried to get as much detail, as much information I could, and I kind of reflected to start this year. And I had to look in the mirror and say, you know what I mean? The only reason why you're not acting is because you're scared. It was a fear thing.
Yes.
And I had to change my mindset this year and basically put my back against the wall and say, you're either going to go all in on this or you're not going to do it at all. So that was kind of the shift for me. I had the information available, at least what I thought was most of it, before getting in the program. And this year I really went all in. I said, we're going to go all in. fuck the fear. Let's do this. We'll figure it out. And that's kind of where I stood to start in January.
I'm sure you're not the only person that's bought a course in the past 2-3 years ago, right? If you guys dropped a course in the past, I'm sure you guys can, if for those who are watching, I'm sure you guys can relate. When you first bought it, so let's go back to 2 years ago. What was it that you didn't take serious? Was it like something you were not really passionate about? You didn't have time? I know you have kids, right, too, so it's like a little bit.
Yeah, I've got a stepdaughter. She's 13.
Yeah.
But basically what it was I was working a full-time job. And initially I actually got into marketing because I wanted to start a traveling agency. If you can't tell behind me, I'm a huge Ravens fan. So I was already traveling to games, and I wanted to do a traveling agency for Ravens fans to go on road trips. So I wanted to learn how to market that business. That was the reason that I got into that course. And then with COVID, obviously things I had to take a step back from that. We weren't able to travel. And I decided, okay, in 2020, I was like, why don't I try and do a marketing agency? And then I could get back with the traveling agency when it's time to do it. But instead of going all in 2020, all I did was make excuses. I was, oh man, like it's COVID. They're not going to have the money. What are people going to think of me? Like all the usual things. Like we all go through this in the beginning, I feel like. And that's when I kind of had the shift in 2021 where it was like, all right, I need to put myself in a position if we're going to do the marketing agency to go all in with it. And that's kind of where I stood.
That's amazing. I always tell people, if you leveraged the COVID year at your best ability, you leveled up so much further ahead than other people. And I feel like if you can go back, you probably would have done what you did now last year, right? Because COVID was a time where we had more time to spend at home. We had more time to spend with our family. You could have been a lot lazier and caught up on all the Netflix shows in the world, or you could have built a business and an agency. I would say, in the end of the day, it's better late than never. So who knows what would have happened if you started last year? Might not have moved as fast. And wouldn't have been as hungry. You never know. So you bought the course, and if you don't mind asking, like what kind of job were you doing? Because I'm always curious to know what kind of job someone leaves. Because if you love your job, you might not have done this. So it sounds like you maybe not have loved it or want to do something different. What were you doing before marketing?
So I worked at a company called Cintas. Basically, I ran my own route and stuff like that. I was in control of the customers, upsells, things of that nature, as well as doing the job. I was with them for 9 years, and I learned a lot in that position. I definitely grew as a person with it, and that's kind of where I started to craft my customer service ability and sales. But I was really capped. So I was one of the best people in the company, but the next step above was actually a pay cut to get to the next step above, which was probably I'd have been making less than I'm making now. So it's funny. I kind of knew. I was like, you know what? I've been successful here, but I'm capped in my earnings, and I felt like I had more potential. And then that final year, I got transferred to a new location, which was really bad. And I just got worn down, and I'm like, you know what? I need to make the move. I had just turned 30. So it was at the end of 2019 when I left, about 4 months pre-COVID. Obviously didn't expect COVID. You know what I mean? That was something that came up that I wasn't expecting, but I just knew it, man. I knew in my gut, I knew in my heart that I could do more. And I just felt like it was time.
That's amazing. And it's sometimes situations and circumstances that we don't foresee coming are the biggest blessings in our life. Every single time, I swear, like if you hear everybody's story, it's like, man, I was working a good job. So was Joel. Like Joel, a lot of you guys don't know, like he was working in a corporate job, making close to 6 figures. It's hard to leave that job. I'm sure you were making decent money. Like it wasn't like you were scraping to like what, it was a good enough job. But when you really want more, you can either make more excuses of why you just want more, or you're gonna go out there and figure it out. So going back, so you got the course. Was like did you ever dive into it? Like, was it something that was helpful? You feel like if you did actually go all in, or is it something that was not even a good investment?
No, it was a good investment because it definitely taught me how to get started with the marketing, and I did dive into it. The problem was I was so hesitant to take that next step and put myself out there. So it wasn't them, it was me.
Okay. And what changed? So how does that hesitation go from being scared of putting yourself out there to putting yourself out there multiple times every single day?
Something very simple. When I came into this year, I asked myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? And when I asked myself that question, I wrote it down. I literally wrote down what the worst things that can happen are. And what I found was none of them were as bad as I thought so in my head. Like my head would tell me, oh my gosh, like I'm going to send a message to somebody. They're not going to either take me seriously. They're going to take me as a joke. And when I wrote that stuff down, I said, man, who cares? Like, that's not a big deal at all.
Yes.
So that was huge. And I know that sounds really simple, but that's a tool I still use today. You know what I mean? I'm like, if I start to get in my head or feel overwhelmed, I go, okay, well, what's the worst that can happen? And how would I overcome that if it happened?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Tim, I don't know if you're familiar with Tim Ferriss. He wrote a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. And he always says, whenever you make a big decision, life-altering decision, right? Buying a house, traveling for life, whatever the case is, you make a pros and cons list. What's the best thing that can happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? And you assess it instead of just making an impulsive decision. It's something I'm actually bad at now. I still make impulsive decisions at times, but I've gotten a lot better at it, and I'm sure you have too. So 2020 didn't really take it serious. Obviously, I love speaking with people like you that understand that most of these courses will actually, there's actually good information. Obviously, there's better than others, but almost all of them will give you some sort of guidance, unless it's a complete scam. Almost all of them will give you some sort of guidance of what you should do, how to get your first few clients, whatever else. But most people don't take those first few steps, which you were one of those people. You came into 2021. And was there like, was it like you waking up and being tired of your job, being tired of the situation you were in? What was that one like motivating factor that really pushed you to take that next step and actually put yourself out there?
Yeah, I would say what really pushed me was the fact that I didn't want to go back to a 9-to-5 job. And I created a great safety net for myself as far as my savings, which was a blessing and a curse. Because I think the blessing of it was, of course, I wasn't in a panic. The curse was I was comfortable. And I had my back against the wall. So once this year started, even though I still wasn't like in a tough spot, I knew that if I kept on the train that I was at, that I eventually would be in a tough spot. So I had to tell myself, all right, you're either going to keep on this path and you're going to have to go back to a job, or you're going to go all in and make sure you never go back to work to somebody again.
And I think that's huge. I think it's putting yourself in that situation. And do you still work at that job, or is this something you're now doing full time?
No. I left them at the end of 2019. And ironically enough, because I still have communications there, when COVID would have hit, I would have left immediately based off the situation they dealt with there. So it was like I was kind of ahead of the game without knowing it.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of like bonus pay cuts and stuff like that I really took advantage of that I would have never had with COVID.
So what were you doing to like live and survive last year without that job?
Yeah, so last year what I did, especially when COVID hit and kind of all my plans for the traveling agency fell apart, I was literally had my savings and I was doing DoorDash.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think if I'm not familiar, I think you used to do Uber, if I'm not mistaken, right? You know that grind.
Yeah, and it's like it's literally right enough money. I tell everybody, I didn't have a family and like a wife and all that stuff, but I always tell everybody, I'm sure you can attest, it's just enough for you to survive. Literally, like you're making just enough. You're not able to like save up. You're not able to do all the things you want and travel and do all this fun stuff, but it's just enough to survive. And even a little bit less, because my dad actually works Uber and Lyft full time. So I completely relate. And I'm sure, talk about getting tired, like that's the job you get tired really fast.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like, it's something, sometimes it's not bad. I'll be honest. Like I like to drive. In my job, I did drive, so it wasn't too bad, but it was just one of those things where I had to reflect and be like, do you really want to be driving around for DoorDash? Is that what you really want to do? No, like nobody wants to do that full time. It's just, it was one of those situations where I said, man, I just need to change something. And I knew I had an opportunity in front of me that I just wasn't taking advantage of. That's
huge. So 2021 kicks in, and at what you joined 7FA like a couple months ago, right? Around April-ish?
Yeah, no, it was closer to March. I think it was like the first
March.
March, yeah.
Cool. And how did you find out about us?
So I actually found out so I was already involved with HighLevel, and I watched 10K in 10 days. I know you were in there, Paulson and Joel.
Yes.
I happened to like just notice it inside of the YouTube for HighLevel, so I got lucky. Went through it. I must have had like 15, 20 pages of notes on that stuff. I mean, that was huge. Nice. All kinds of golden nuggets in there. And I joined the marketing agency secrets group. Somebody, I don't even remember what started it, but somebody had posted something and I opted in. And Daniel reached out to me. And ironically enough, I was skeptical. I was very hesitant, It took a few weeks. I think Daniel did like 3 calls with me, maybe 4.
Wow. Shout out to Daniel.
Yeah, right. Shout out to Daniel. And then finally, we got to the conversation. I was just like, let's do this, man. Like, let's do it. I'll give it a shot. I'm going all in. If I'm saying I'm going all in, this is part of it.
Yes.
And kind of the callback to that other course, it was good for the knowledge, but what happened was it was very outdated. So they didn't basically the scripts from like 3 years ago. They were, and there wasn't any new information. So I felt like I needed something to keep me along the path. I was like getting close, but I was missing something.
Yeah, and this is huge because I want to take a couple steps back. Like going through the 10K in 10 days, I mean, we have hours of content. Joel, does his thing. Paulson does his thing. I did my thing. Like there's a lot of hours, and it's crazy because you're not the only one that probably went through this. People that are watching live, if you watch a 10K in 10 days and you got value from it, give us that 10K. Give us a comment at 10K. I'm just wondering to see who actually got value from it. But you got value. I would say our free stuff is better than most paid stuff.
Yeah.
Like
there was
literally
so much value in there, bro.
And this is actually very interesting because this is my first time talking to Blake. I didn't even know who closed him. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is like literally our first time talking. So what made you skeptical still? Because you went through our 10K in 10 days. You knew you wanted to do marketing. What made you skeptical? Because obviously it's not a cheap course. It's not $1,000. What was the thing that you were like, man, I need a little bit of time? You weren't sold off the bat. There was, obviously the follow-up works, but what was that? What was that thing that was holding you back?
I think it was a mindset thing more than anything because I was always frugal and like hesitant to spend, which is why I had such a good savings and safety net. But I had to learn, one of the things I learned actually within 7FA is you sell the way that you buy. And
I was just about to say that.
And I had to learn that I had to kind of flip my mindset. And I looked at it as, you know what? I'm going to invest in this course. Yes. And I'm going to put my back against the wall and make sure that when it comes time for me to pay them, that I made that tenfold. Like I will do everything in my power to take everything in this course and make sure that I took advantage of the investment. And that's what I told myself. And that's what I've done so far.
That's amazing. And that's fire. I tell everybody I talk to, if you're scared of investing in yourself, how are you going to perceive and tell people to invest in you?
Exactly. If you're going to collect, in some niches, thousands of dollars for a retainer, but you're hesitant to spend that, how are you? It's going to show in the way that you sell.
Exactly. There's a reason we don't hire frat personal trainers, right? There's a reason, and most NFL coaches have had years of experience in coaching, and some of them even play football. You don't necessarily have to play football, right? But you're not just going to wake up tomorrow and be an NFL head coach. Like it takes experience, takes years and years and years of practice. It's the same thing here. It takes years and years and years to get good. Why would you not invest to learn and get a little bit faster and move things better? So found out about us in March. And then when you first dove in, like when you first jumped in that second week of March, were you all in off the bat? Because I mean, getting to 21 clients is pretty amazing in 6 weeks. Or was it something that still took time and then things like start taking off? What was your beginning phase like?
Yeah, I was all in because, like I said, in the year, I was all in. I was already ready to go. And I knew if I was going to make that investment that I was going to be on every single call. I was going to do everything I can to be present, to learn. So I was all in from the beginning. But what's interesting is I got my first client the first week. So attended the calls, started to implement, put it into my own style, and got a client right off the bat. And then
that's amazing.
But here's the thing. Here's what was funny. In April, I didn't sign any clients.
Wow.
Zero. But here's what I learned. I was going all in, but I was setting the bar too low. So I write down my goals every month, and I wrote down my goals for the year. And the bar that I had set for April, I said, all right, I signed a client in March. I want to sign 2 clients in April. That was way too low.
Way too low, for sure.
So what I did was when I put all the work in, and I think a lot of that is what helped me in May. That work kind of compounded and set me up for success in May. But what happened was when I came into May, I said, all right, I was like, I've been setting the bar too low. Here's what I want to do. And I made my goal to set up 7 clients for May.
Okay. And so the trickle effect, it's like the compound, right?
Yep. So I think I had a mix of the compound effect in May as well as a change of mindset and starting to set the bar higher. And again, putting my back to the wall and saying, no matter what, I need to sign this many clients this week, no matter what.
And when you do that, so I think some people do that. What's the no matter what? Let's just say, it's Thursday today and you're at 0 clients. What would you do? How do you put yourself on the fence to sign up that one client like there's a gun to your head?
At this point, what I do, and I've been fortunate so far to where I haven't had to do it, but usually I set aside family time on either Saturday or Sunday. At this point, if I'm not where I need to be in the week, we're taking calls all the way up until Sunday night until we close that client. We got to do what we got to do. And I treat it almost as if I'm like, I put myself in a position where I'm like, if I don't do this, I can't pay my bills. Sort of mindset.
So I want to really dive into this. This is super important, I think. So some of these guys don't have much sales experience. Let's just say they're a little bit younger. Maybe they're, your age, my age, whatever. Doesn't matter what your age you are. I really believe that it's whatever your mindset's everything. So it's Thursday or Wednesday. Let's just say it's halfway through the week. You've gone through a few days without closing someone. What are you doing on a daily basis to get the appointments and get the sales? Because let's just say you are spending money on ads and they're not cracking. You're sending out the emails. And you're sending out the Instagram messages. What else are you doing, Blake, to really get that extra sale, extra 2 sales, whatever it takes?
Yeah, I think the important part is because you want to make sure you're in a position to where each week you're kind of setting up the next week, so to speak. So like I normally make sure by the end of the previous week that I'm in a position where I have enough calls already starting the week to put myself in a nice position. But outside of that, I have a VA who's always prospecting. So she does Instagram and email. And that was huge. That was a big part of this for me because what I learned was that I thought I was really going all in prospecting when really I wasn't. When I really looked at the numbers in comparison to what she can do when it relates to me, like my prospecting heavy, I thought like sending 30 emails was like doing a lot of prospecting before I got in this program. That is nothing. That is absolutely nothing. And it's no wonder I wasn't getting results. I wasn't putting enough output. So once I brought my VA in, she sends out hundreds of emails a day. We had to lower it a little bit because we ran into some spam issues. So luckily I've kind of got that evened out now. And then she also DMs on Instagram. She basically does 80 to 100 DMs a day.
Wow.
And then within that, I ran some paid ads on a smaller scale. That's actually my next step because most of my closing has been organic.
Amazing. I did not know that.
Yeah. So basically right now I'm at 22 clients. Only 2 have been from paid ads.
What niche are you in?
I'm in junk removal, which is a niche nobody is in. That's another thing that worked out great for me. I found a niche that wasn't saturated, and I think you can do this in a saturated niche. The thing is,
100%.
Here's the thing that you need to do. You need to take first. You need to get the information on your niche. You need to really dive deep, get on these calls, hit their pain points. If your niche is saturated, see what everybody else is doing, and do something opposite. Make yourself unique. I think a lot of times what we do is we try and look at what everybody else is doing and do the same thing. And that's where we fail. We're copycats.
And I also think the opposite. I think sometimes we see what everybody else is doing, and then we think too much about what to do differently, and we don't take action. I'd rather you do what everybody else is doing and at least execute than sit there all day like, what should I do differently? Should I do this? Should I do AI? This, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, the only thing that matters is fucking executing. I tell everybody in the beginning, be like everybody else. Just set up your foundations, have your systems in place, and execute. Take action. That's all that matters. And then over time, you can be different.
That's a really good point because that's true. If you just sit there and think about for 2 months how you're going to be different, you didn't do anything. You got to take action.
Yes. That's it. So this is super important, man. I want to dive more into this, Blake, because I think a lot of people miss the point here. You're doing organic. You're doing cold email. You're leveraging your VA, cold email, and Instagram. What other ways are you doing to get appointments? Because that's really where it starts, right?
Yeah. So that was the starting point, and then what I wanted to build was a plan to kind of build momentum and get the ball really rolling. So my first client, I knew right away he felt like a really good fit. I knew he would be a power partner and a referral partner. So the first week we got a testimonial from him. As soon as we got something good, we got a testimonial. We ran that in paid ads. And now he's at a point where he has already sent me, I believe, either 6 or 7 referrals that we've closed. And he will go in to, there's a huge Facebook group in my niche, and he will go in almost once a week and tag me for people who need marketing and also comment and let people know that they should reach out to me.
That's amazing. Now, I want to talk briefly about this because a lot of you guys, 2 things. Either I already have this client and you don't even know that you have the client that will refer someone to you because you're not opening this conversation. You're not really paying attention too much. this is also for us. Like we probably have a client that could be an amazing tool for us to use and leverage. Everybody, if you have at least 10 clients, I promise you have at least one. That's the first thing. So pay attention to the clients that you're already working with, and Blake did a really good job of that from the beginning. But number two is don't look for those clients off the bat. Just look for clients. Because if you're just looking for partnership, again, you're not doing what's gonna bring you the revenue right now. You're thinking long term, which is important, of course. But I think getting those clients, just getting clients in, just getting social proof, just like, man, this is actually gonna work, is huge. So pay attention to the clients you have. Pay attention to the clients you're talking to, because sometimes you don't even have to work with them. Sometimes these guys like you so much, they have amazing marketing, they'll refer you people. We have people outside of 7FA. I've had people outside of Atlas Digital, whoever I sold for, because I built relationships with them, they were sending me referrals. And they were getting paid for it, but they were never a part of it. Maybe they were in another program, maybe they use another marketing for chiropractic. So really, really important. Look into your clients that you already have. If you have 5, 10 clients, but if you don't, focus on getting clients. Focus on really building these relationships with every single person, especially if they're in your niche and you guys vibe with them. I think it can go a really long way.
Yeah, in the beginning, you don't want to be super selective. You know what I mean?
No.
Like you need intel. So you want to have clients. You want to make sure that you're performing. You want to test that out.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that the first one, I just had the vibe. I kind of knew from the beginning, and that's just based on my experience with customer service. I had that vibe with him. I knew he would be something special for us. Yes. We were lucky there. But honestly, even if it would have been the 3rd, 4th, 5th client, and we've got other ones sending referrals too. In fact, we got to a point where there were a couple people that, in my niche, unfortunately, it's great. It's not saturated, but they struggle financially. It's tight. It's a tight budget niche, right? So that's my challenge. So I've had a few people who I knew probably couldn't afford us right off the start. I had one guy where, I got on the phone with him. I kind of talked some marketing tips. I gave him some information, and that 20-minute phone call turned into 3 referrals from him. Now he's a client a couple months later because he's in a position to do so.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Providing value is huge. And the reason Blake can do that is he just said this, and I think it flew over some people's heads, is you became an expert in this field. I mean, your previous job was nothing to do with junk removal. No. Like literally the complete opposite, if anything. Yep. And you had to learn, you had to get on these calls, you had to get uncomfortable, you had to really become an expert. They talk to you like you're an expert in this field. When you're marketing for someone, they're expecting to know more, at least as much as they do on what you do, on what they service. So I think that's huge. So again, I want to talk about some of your strategies when it comes to sales, because I think this is the number one, the 2 reasons people struggle in sales, or in agency, I should say, is number 1, they don't have enough appointments. And number 2, they're not getting enough sales. It's not fulfillment. It's not systems. It's not a team. It's not any of those things. Those things are going to come and things will break. But it's you're taking 2 or 3 calls a week, or you're taking 50 calls a week, but you're not closing. So for you, everything's pretty much organic. You're just now about to start running ads. So let's just say you were to start an agency today, and it's not you chose a not saturated niche, and normally I think that's great. The problem is that you have to be the catalyst in that niche, in that space, and you better not waste your time because you took a gamble, right? I know there's someone in dentistry that scaled. I know someone in real estate. I know someone in Cairo. I don't know anyone in junk. I didn't even know what niche we were in. I don't know anyone in there. And we have 300 plus clients. Yeah. So let's just say you were in a saturated niche like real estate, for instance, or Cairo. What would you do? How would you set appointments? Would you start off with paid ads off the bat? Would you go all in on organic? Would you hire a VA? Like, what are some of the things that you would do if you were to restart and in a saturated niche?
Yeah, the things I would do differently with a saturated niche, I would still do the organic prospecting, but I definitely would have went heavier on paid ads. Because I was fortunate that organic worked based off not being in a saturated niche. And don't get me wrong, you can work in a saturated niche as well, but it's just going to be more challenging and you're going to have more of an output. So paid ads would have been my go-to, and honestly still is going to be our go-to. Like my next step really is to crack paid ads and take this whole nother stratosphere, because I know it will. Sure. But if I was in a saturated niche, I 100% would focus on paid ads for sure. And I think that's huge. I think in that case, like, it's funny for me, like I can't really funnel hack as far as like paid ads. Like nobody is really running paid ads in junk removal. Like they're familiar more so with like Home Advisor and pay-per-lead companies, which is amazing because I use that as my strength. They can't stand those guys, and I know that. So that already positions us in a nice light. And then a lot of the other people who market in junk removal typically run Google ads, and my expertise is Facebook. So we also separate ourselves in that way.
I love that. I love that. By the way, I see some people dropping questions. Drop all your questions. We're going to scroll through them in a bit here and go through all of them. With your VA, did you when you found this person, were they already trained, or did you have to put time into them? How often do you talk to your VA? I want to talk because clearly you're leveraging your VA the right way, which I appreciate and my company appreciates. But I'm actually curious, like how was it off the bat? Because you did not really come from an agency background, so this is something that I'm sure you had to learn. Talk to me about how you leverage your VA on a regular basis.
Yeah, so my VA was trained, and interestingly enough, I didn't know about your program yet, Omer. So shout out to yours.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll get some from you eventually.
Yes.
But basically, someone had reached out. A couple people had reached out, and they hit me at the perfect time. Like I knew I needed a VA. I had just actually joined the program. I was a week in, and one of the things that I seen from Joel was like, "You need to hire a VA. You need to hire a VA." I said, "Okay, I'm going to hire a VA." So somebody had contacted me pretty much right when that happened. They were already trained. And, she's been great. But what I learned through this process is it's also helped me grow as a leader as well. Because that's a role that I wasn't familiar with being in. I had been the employee. So I had to teach myself how to be the leader. And I still am. I'm still growing in that role.
Yes, 100%. Your first hire is going to be a virtual assistant. If you're having trouble finding, refining them, challenging them, having them level up, man, when you hire a salesperson, account manager, media buyers, a real like 7-figure company, you're going to struggle. So I always look at a person, if you're struggling to find a VA, train them, fulfill them, it's going to be really hard to do that with an American Canadian team when you're hiring salespeople and people with higher expectations and whatever else it is. So that's important. I was just curious. Wonderful. So 3 months, not 3 months, month and a half, go from 0 to 22 clients. 20 of them were 100% organic. 2 of them were from paid ads. Just starting now to ramp paid ads. What's your beginning ad budget? Like, what are you looking to spend in the first month? Let's just talk about daily. What would your daily budget be?
Yeah, so my budget was pretty low to start off with, lower than it needed to be. So when we first started running it, we started at $30 a day, which in my opinion is way too low. It gave us some traction. It gave us some brand awareness. Ideally, right now, what we're looking at is essentially we want to go from that to $100 a day. I want to refuel the pipeline. Yes. So that I am so slammed with calls that eventually I either need to slow down the ads or hire somebody in sales and start to look at that role, which I think you're close. I don't want to do right away because I think that's the last thing you want to delegate. And I've actually had a lot of success with it. And that's not to say like I'm some super sales guy or anything like that. I think a lot of it is because I connect on a personal level with these guys. It's funny. So to touch into my sales technique a little bit, one of the things that I realized was in marketing, guarantees just kept getting crazier and crazier. People were throwing out guarantees. Then somebody was outdoing them with the next guarantee. What I actually did was we don't do any guarantees, Omer. None. I tell them there's no guarantees in marketing on the call. Here's the thing that happened, though. They got so used to hearing Home Advisor and other marketing companies are all guarantees that it was almost refreshing for them to hear me say, I want to set the right expectations with you up front and be real with you.
Wow. That's amazing.
And that's been a golden nugget for me, is taking what I've seen with guarantees and flipping it and becoming someone who genuinely cares about their success. Because I really do. And I think that's important in the agency game. If you don't care about the other person's success, I think it's really hard to make it. Because
yeah, I agree. I think you can make it a little bit, and then it's going to get to a breaking point, and you don't really give a shit about them, and it's going to break.
Yep. Retention is going to be harder.
100%. You have to care about them, and retention is part of scaling. You have to retain these clients long term, not just short term. That's amazing. So I do want to talk about retention in just a bit here. So this is important. So when you say you don't guarantee, do you not mention guarantee at all, or is that something that you do mention? Hey, by the way, there's no guarantee in the program.
I'll mention it. Right away. I'll let them know. You know what I mean? I'll have that vibe on the call, especially with ones I feel like we're about to move forward. I'll let them know, like, I want to set the right expectations. This is something else that I learned inside the program because I want them to stick around long term. I would rather under promise and over deliver than throw around guarantees. And in a month one, they're like, well, where are the jobs? And then, how hard it is to keep them for month 2 when the expectation isn't met in month 1.
Yeah, then virtually impossible. Good luck.
And not only that, but I don't want the clients who want overnight success because I know it's not realistic and it wouldn't be realistic with us. So I don't think they're going to be a fit in general in the first place.
Nice. And do you do one call or two call closes?
I do 2 call. So the 1 call is really where I get the intel, find out if they're a fit for the demo call. And usually our demo success rate's really high right now, I think for a few reasons. So typically when I take them to the demo, I typically sell them at this point. Either we're going to do a down sell if they can't afford it and try and get them started, or we're going to be in the regular package.
And it's a presentation, right? It's an actual demo from our demo masterclass. Cool.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, so where would you say like 7FA has helped you the most? Because again, you've invested in courses. There's thousands of other programs out there. What was like the thing that 7FA really pushed you to do? Because I'm sure that there's more than one thing. But what was that one thing that was like, man, this is huge. I don't see anybody else helping me with this.
Yeah, I would say the community was huge for me, man. Because when I got around a community of winners, I kept seeing people win, and I love that. Like, there's 2 types of people. There's people that want to see other people win, and there's people who envy others who win. I love to see people win. Like it drives me. It drives me to win. What happened was, dude, in that month of April, I was so pumped. I signed my first client the first week. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And then I started to get down on myself. And after a couple of weeks of not signing one, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What am I missing? And I kind of just told myself to be patient with the process, which thankfully I did. I didn't reverse course or switch niches or anything like that. And I just kept seeing people win, bro. And I'm like, man, I want to post some wins. Like, it's time for me to post some wins. And then in May, it just took off. And I'm like, now I'm going to post some wins. You know what I mean?
Let's go.
So the community was huge for me because, like I said, I like to see people win. And I wanted to be a part of that myself.
I always tell people what we build with a community is by far our biggest selling point, and it's the hardest thing to build. How do you build a community? It takes years and so much content and so much ups and downs. So to me, that's the biggest selling point. That's what would sell me into any program. I want to be around other, like you said, other winners. Plus, you know why you're so used to winning is because Ravens have only won that season in the last 10 years. So for you, anytime you don't win, it's a weird spot to be in. Lamar Jackson was a winner in college. You got him to be a winner in NFL. Hopefully, you guys make it to the AFC Championship and lose to the Colts. But that's as much winning as I want.
That's there.
Yeah, I love it. So the community was huge. And right now, what are I always like to be vulnerable because everything's great, right? Everything sounds great. Ooh, 0 to 21 clients, of course. Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced and you're currently experiencing with the agency? Because things are moving fast, and when things move fast, things normally break fast. So what are some of the things that you're experiencing that are not as fucking high as they usually are?
Yeah, I think this is a good point because I've been on the other side of these conversations and watching, and it's everything looks like perfect, and you're like, oh, I would love to be in those shoes, and we never really get to hear the real side and the challenges because there's challenges for everybody. 100%. Whether you're in my shoes, 100K a month, 200K a month, there's always going to be a new challenge.
100%.
Right now, for my agency, I think the biggest challenge was we scaled so fast that I wasn't prepared and had a team in place. So now, this week has been very challenging for me because I brought on 3 people at the same time. I'm trying to train them. I'm trying to still retain and do the sales calls that I normally do and stay on point there. And I'm learning how to be a leader and I'm learning how to fill these roles. So that's my biggest challenge right now. And honestly, that's one of the biggest things I'm excited about next week because I know I'm going to learn so much to help me kind of fulfill that.
What roles are those people that you hired?
So one of the things that we notice, again, this is kind of learning your niche and filling the holes. We realized that originally I wanted to kind of make it bare bones. I was running the ads and I was sending the leads over to them. I had everything in HighLevel, but other than an automated text sequence, there was really no other conversion to get the people from lead to client or lead to customer. My clients were horrible in follow-up. Horrible. And it's because they're in the field. They're busy. So I said, okay, well, this is a problem. We need to come up with a solution. So now I have appointment setters and I'm training up to basically help them convert. But it's something very new to me that I don't have any expertise in. So I'm kind of learning and getting it set along the way. So it's a challenge. But I know a month from now, it's going to be something that's very worthwhile for us. And it also makes us more valuable.
100%. So this person is calling the leads essentially to schedule them?
Yeah, so basically what they're doing, they haven't started yet. They're going to start doing calls, and then they're also going to follow up on the text that people respond to in the automated.
And these are all 3 people, so they're essentially virtual assistant call center?
Yeah.
In-house call center?
So two of them are for that role, and then I have another one I'm training as a client success coach.
Cool. I love that. And so now it's a team of 5. You have your regular VA that's been with you for prospecting. You have you, and then 3 people that you just hired, two call center and client success.
Yep.
That's perfect, man. With that, dude, with you 5, you guys can go to like 50, 6K per month. And then eventually you're going to want to get like a salesperson. I think that's the natural next step. Dude, that's awesome. So I love that. If you guys listen, what Blake is doing is he's noticing what the issues are and he's solving it with systems and people. Those are 2 things that you have to solve it with. You have to have the systems in place and you have to find the right people. And that's the hardest thing, is to find those people and to place those systems, because things will break and you better fix them fast. Because if you don't fix them fast, and this is what happened during COVID when things were breaking, a lot of people were losing clients. A lot of people didn't have the right implementations, whatever the case may be, and things fell apart like quickly. So I think shout out to you. And this is going to be one of your biggest challenges, is to balance everything, right? Balancing the sales calls, balancing the clients that are not happy, training your team, making sure they're doing everything right. Any point one of them could get sick. Now you're missing a whole person to call someone's leave. Like, there's things that are going to be coming that are going to hit you in the face, and you just better be ready. And someone like you, I feel like, will be ready, over time, which is awesome. So, so now let's talk about like the goals. So you went from 0 to 22 clients, 6 weeks. What are your goals for the rest of the year? I mean, we got 6 months, a little less than 6 months till 2022. Where do you want to be by the end of the year?
Yeah, so I think you and I had a conversation about this in the beginning of the year. I wrote down I wanted to hit 10K a month, which was an insanely low goal. I just didn't realize what I had. Yeah. I didn't realize my own potential. And of course, shout out to this program for getting me there and making me realize it. At this point, with the way that we're moving organically and we haven't even cracked paid ads, I do realistically feel like we could hit 100K by the end of the year. I really do. I think once we scale paid ads, and like you said, we are able to build this program that we're building with the hires I have now, start to add in sales reps, I really truly feel like our system is so unique in this niche that we would be able to hit that mark. So realistically, right now, that's where we want to be.
I'd love that, because nothing will make me happier than handing you that 100K award. Actually, Joel doesn't make me hand them over. He just makes me like open them, and he's the one that actually hands them over to you. But I just want to see that picture. It'll be awesome to see. So let's talk about someone on the fence with 7FA, because you're like the perfect person to talk about this, because you're on the fence, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you watching, there's over 60 people watching this live right now. Blake was incredibly skeptical of 7FA, even though he went to the 10K and 10-day course, was probably in our ecosystem for some time, and it took multiple calls to close him. And I'm sure what's funny enough as I'm saying this, I'm sure he has clients right now that he knows are a good fit. He knows that he can help. He knows that, and he believes in them, but he hasn't closed them on the first call, the second call, but he knows he will close them. So people on the fence, Blake, what are some of the things that you would tell to someone that has maybe never spoken to a team or has spoken to a team, and they're like bought in, but they're not 100% bought in? What would you tell to that person?
Man, do it. Do it. I'm telling you right now, do it. Like, I've already been posting in the group. I see people, a lot of times what we do, I'll see people that are like, oh, I'm following, or yeah, I see it. You know what I mean? And they don't take the next step. They're scared. Like, you need to stop letting your fear get in the way of your potential. With this program, I 100% was able to learn, implement, and fulfill. And the main thing for me in this program is you have to do the work. Like, that's the thing. And they'll be realistic with you. Like Omer will tell you, like, this isn't just going to happen for you. You have to put in the work. But if you put in the work with this program, based on everything, all the information that's taught, the community, the sales calls, you will reach your potential if you put in that work. I promise you. And
100%.
I mean, I've said this in a group, and I'll say it here. Like, if I had to make this investment again, I would do it 10 times out of 10, and it would not have taken me 3 or 4 calls. I can promise you that, now that I know what I know.
Yeah, and for you, the biggest challenge to go in on us was the investment, right? It's not a cheap investment. Some of you guys know what it's like. Some of you guys don't. Yeah. It's not a cheap investment. I'm very upfront about it. But Lamborghini is not cheap for a reason. Ferraris are not cheap for a reason. Mansions are not I just went to Aruba. I don't know if, I think I was telling you I was in Aruba. Aruba is one of the most beautiful islands in the world. Not cheap. All the best stuff that are worth your time, right? Worth your time, worth your money, worth your energy. Because nothing is more important than that. Is going to be expensive. That's the unfortunate part. If it was cheap, if it was easy, everybody would be rich. I tell that to everybody. So if you're on the fence and you're feared, I want you to say that quote one more time, because that was very powerful. It's that fear quote. You said.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
You said it was a fear quote. It was, if you're Don't let your fear hold you back from your potential, right?
Yeah, and that's really what I was doing when it came to the program. And without the program, I truly mean this, I would not be in the position I'm in. The techniques that I learn in sales, the techniques that I learn in fulfillment, like the things that I continue to learn each week with this program, there's no way I would be at 22 clients right now. This is where I'm at. There's no way. There's absolutely no way, man. Like I feel like honestly, I'd have a few. I really think I would have figured a couple of things out, but I would not be where I'm at right now without this program. And if you look at it, you have to look at it in this light. This is how I took it. I said, okay, yeah, it's an investment. And that can be tough, especially for people like me. If you're frugal, you know what I mean? It's hard to do it. Take that investment and make sure you flip it into, okay, well, if I'm going to make this investment, then I'm going to make that investment per month out of this program. And then I'm going to make even more off of that investment. If you flip it, you're fine.
The amount of people that have came in, Blake, and have gotten success at this point is pretty insane, right? We have over 2,000 testimonials. I say that in like the most braggadocious way. I always say it's not about us. It's about if you're able to take advantage of what we have, execute action. It takes time. Some people like Blake, it says, I give you so much credibility, by the way, for this. You chose a niche that's not saturated, and I never advise for that. I always tell, like, go after a niche that was already solved instead of sitting there and thinking, what's not a niche that nobody thinks about? Because that's next level thinking, and most people in the beginning don't need to think like that. You need to think, what niche has already been solved? How can I come in, replicate what's been done, and when I scale, innovate? I always tell people the hardest part to go from 0 to 10K is just starting and doing the little things and the boring things. But from 10 to 20 to 30 to 100 to 200 to 300 and beyond, it's the innovation. The innovation. And you're going to experience that too. I think you're going through that right now, right, with call center. That's the first step. Maybe eventually incorporating an AI, maybe doing some paper show, whatever the case is, right? You're going to have to innovate to go from 20 clients to 30 to 40 to 50. Slowly but surely. It doesn't have to be altering your whole business, but slowly but surely you're able to do that. And what I want to do for the next like 10-15 minutes, if it's cool with you, just go through some of those people's questions. We got David Eiler asked, for lead gen, are you partial to Facebook conversion ads or lead gen ads, and are you using Messenger?
Yeah, so I kept it pretty simple. We may implement other things. I'm kind of looking into Messenger and testing it out, but we've had a lot of success with simple, just lead form ads. We've kept it simple. Basically, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that everything, we simplified it. And this is something else I learned in the program was, instead of going straight to funnel, I wanted to make sure that everything was in place first, our copy, our video, things of that nature. And we were successful in lead form. And then eventually, if we wanted to take it to funnel, we could. But right now, we're strictly lead form right now.
Cool. I think that's the simplest way. Start with that. See what kind of conversions you're getting, and you need to make it a little more complex. Please do it. Ryan Brown asks 2 questions. He said, how much are you charging your clients? 3 questions, actually. How much are you charging your clients? Are you doing contracts? And have you tried YouTube ads for clients?
Yeah, so as far as charging clients, we're definitely on a lower scale than most when it comes to marketing. And again, that's because with my niche, funds can be a little tight. So right now, our usual retainer is right around, we bumped it up a little bit. So right now, we're right around $9.97 a month. And then as we add in the appointment setters, that's, of course, going to go up because that's going to give us more value. That's a unique service in the marketplace. So we're going to go up. As far as, what was the other question? I'm trying to find it here. 90-day contracts.
Do you do contracts or everything month to month?
No, we do everything month to month. We don't do any contracts. And I found, contracts can be good and bad. For me, I did away with contracts because with my previous job, people hated the contracts.
Yes.
And it gave them kind of a salty feel. So I've kind of used that to my advantage where on the sales call, I let them know that we don't have contracts. And I position it to where it's in their best interest. And that's why we do it that way.
Okay, got it. Let's see. Can you tell me some $5,000 to $10,000 niches? I mean, that could be, you can look at like solar. I think any niche can be $5,000 niche. If you provide the value, they'll pay you $5K. I think even the junkyards, if you talk to like really big corporations, I'm sure you can charge them $5 to $10K. So I think every niche can be that. But I think that starting out, don't focus on the high ticket. Focus on someone that's going to pay you $1, $2K per month. Yeah. Learn your niche, understand the ins and outs, understand their pain points, get results, be confident that you can provide to them. And then once you are, then you can start charging a little bit more and more. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. We started off lower just because we wanted to get our foot in the door, and we wanted to take action. Like, we wanted clients, and then we were like, from there, we'll get to know our ideal client. So now I have a much better feel of who my ideal client is and what we need to do to make it more of a premium.
I love that. Guys, if you're getting value from this, Blake is dropping some amazing gold nuggets. Thank you again, Blake, for hopping on. Drop a 1. Give us a 1. Give us a 1. Give us a 1. If you have any more questions, drop them below. Otherwise, I'll have a few more questions off the top of my head. So drop a 1 if you're getting value from this. Drop a 1. Drop a 1. Someone is asking, how many appointments do you get from 100 cold calls?
So I haven't done cold calls personally. So I wouldn't want to give the wrong expectations on that. But I would say if you're looking into doing cold calls, do it. Instead of wondering what it will do, just take action and figure that out.
I agree. And I think it depends on your niche. I think it depends on you. I think it depends on your scripts. There's a lot of dependencies, because if you cold call 100 dentists and you cold call 100 realtors, you're going to get a hold of way more realtors, right? Because most of them don't have an assistant or a front or an office that you're just directly calling them. So you probably get more appointments talking to real estate. So I think it depends on your niche. Do you have any experience in cold calling? What type of scripting are you using? You got to get right to the point. It takes 2-3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to really get their attention. Ask the questions and then rotate it to a demo. That would be the preferable thing that I would do. Is I would make it a 1 call instead of a 2 call. And I agree. Just do it. Out of 100, you probably are going to get 10 appointments. I would say 10 to 15, maybe 20 demos. Out of those, maybe half of them show up and maybe a couple sales. Like, you're not going to get you're not going to get 50 clients from cold calling. There's a reason not many people do it. But like Blake just said, I'm saying do it. Don't ask questions because we're not like, oh yeah, you're going to get 50 appointments. Do it. If I was to start an agency today, I would 100% figure out cold caller. I would do cold calling myself, build systems around it, hire VAs eventually to do cold call for me. So there's a lot of ways to do it. This is actually a really interesting question, Blake. How did you pick your niche?
I guess that would be a great question, right? Also, to go back to what you just said, I would ask him, what's the worst that can happen if you made 100 cold calls?
Yes. Just people saying no.
Yeah, exactly. As far as that question, so I actually have a friend who was starting junk removal, and I was going to help him. And then ironically, what happened, because you know how Facebook works, I guess from pulling up his page or whatever I did, I started to see junk removal ads on my feed, and they were god awful. They were bad. So at the start of the year, I started to reach out to some of those companies. And then I'm like, man, if these ads are that bad, like, let me research and see this niche and kind of learn more about it and see if there's a position for me to fix this. And there was. I mean, when I tell you that, I went through the top 300 cities and I went through every ad I could, and they were, I would say 99% of them were terrible. They were so bad. And I'm like, okay, well, I see a problem here and I can fix it. And that's how I selected my niche, and I just dove right in.
I love that. So, and then I just came up with because by the way, if you guys keep watching, we're gonna pick one person to do a quick 10-15 minute one-on-one with Blake, so to give you guys some help. I know exactly how we're gonna pick this person. I just thought about it too, so we'll get to that in a few minutes here. There's a few more questions on here, and I love this question. Someone said, let me make sure I get this person's name right. Your name disappeared, but this person asked, what was the mindset change that triggered this growth? I think you talked a little bit about it. Was tired of being tired. 2020 didn't go your way, right? And you knew that you were meant for more, right? And I want to talk about it a little bit more because some people may have missed it. But what was that moment like?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it was a reflection upon myself. I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and realized I just wasn't taking enough action to get the results that I wanted to get in life. And the mindset really was what really flipped it for me. Was I just didn't want to go back to a job. I had made a decision to leave my job at the end of 2019, and I just didn't want to go back. And I knew I was capable of more, and I had to put that pressure on myself to perform and really look in the mirror and go, you're not doing as much as you're telling yourself you're doing. So you really need, if you're going to say you're going to go all in, you better go all in, track your numbers, do more, and keep going at it. And that's what I did. I knew the consistency eventually would pay off.
Cool. We're going to take the last two questions. Priyanka asks, did you start paid ads from day one? Sorry if this was a missed question. So he didn't, Priyanka. He actually was doing organic. He's just now starting paid ads. So he actually went from 0 to over 20 clients, or I should say 20 exactly, organically. Only he's gotten a couple paid ad clients so far. So organic works. He's in an unsaturated niche, so he does have an advantage because they're not getting bombarded by thousands of marketers every day. That is an advantage. The disadvantage of going after an unsaturated niche is that you have to become the anomaly. You're leading the front. There's not many people that have figured it out. There's a reason. This industry has been around for probably a decade, really taken serious for the last 6-7 years. I would say the last 3 years has been really the saturation has grown, especially since with COVID. So if you're going after an unsaturated niche and no one's in it, you're like, let's go after dog trainers, like whatever, or there's a lot of unsaturated niches out there, and no one's being able to figure it out. You're putting pressure on yourself to figure it out, and that's what Blake is doing. Blake is in our program, over 300 active agency owners. No one is in his niche. Sure, some people can help him out here and there, right? HVAC is relatively not even close, right? But there's niches that have the same struggles, I should say, but it's a completely different ballgame. So Blake is by himself. Like, he doesn't have anyone else to talk to when it comes to his niche specifically. But marketing and sales and the entire really agency game, he has people to help him with. Would you agree?
Yeah,
Blake?
you have to pick your poison with that. You know, in my situation, it helps organically because I don't have the competition, but it's also where as I scale, I have to figure it out on my own. And there's no funnel hack. You know, I have to be creative. I have to put it together. So it's kind of pick your poison. Which one is better for you? Would you rather be in the saturated niche and crack paid ads and kind of have some examples, or would you rather go unsaturated and as you start to scale, figure it out yourself? You know what I mean? Either way, you're gonna have a challenge, no matter what you choose.
Yeah, 100%. Last question. Sandeep asks, what books would you recommend to run a successful agency? And I know there's been some books specifically written on agencies. I love sales books because I think the most important thing in the beginning is sales, right? So a book that helped me out a lot was Close the Survivor Guide by Grant Cardone. Although I don't sell anything like him, it's a really good book for objection handling, how he handles objections. I actually love listening to sales books more than just reading them. I think if you do both, it's a huge. I also love reading biographies and people's stories because, in my opinion, stories sell. Just like Blake got on here, not only because he went from 0 to 20 clients, but also his story is powerful and it's pretty relatable. A lot of you guys are working jobs and you have a significant other you want to take care of, and you have all these goals and ambitions and dreams that you want to get to, but you've been comfortable and you're in a good place in your life. So starting a business is like, it's something you want to do, but it's not something that you need to do. And I think Blake can attest to this. Like, this was bound to happen, and thankfully it happened fast this year rather than next year, the years after. So cool. What we're gonna do now, Blake? There's about 45 people watching this live. What I want you to do is I want you to send me a message on Facebook with a number of your choosing from 1 to 100. We're gonna choose the person that either gets the number right or the person that chooses a number closest to Blake's number, I don't know what that number is going to win. So everybody has you have one chance. Do not post 17 different questions. You're going to be eliminated immediately if you do more than two answers. So if you're watching this live, Brandon, Eric, a bunch of other people, drop your guess for what Eric's number is. It's from 1 to 100. The person that either gets it right or the closest is going to get on a one-on-one with Blake. I'll connect you guys on Facebook. Choose the date for next week to talk and see what else Blake can help you guys out with. And we're going to end the call then. I know Blake also, by the way, Blake created the 10 steps to go from 0 to 21 clients. So shout out to Blake. Really appreciate him creating this. I'm going to make a post right after. Comment on that post. We'll send that over to you guys over the next couple days, including the weekend. So for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to give you guys, again, pick a number from 1 to 100. You have one choice, one chance to do this. Otherwise, let's see. I don't know, Blake, did you send me the message?
I am now.
Cool.
Did you get it?
Yep. Cool. I'm gonna give it 1 more minute. The 306. If you guys want to guess the number that Blake just did from 1 to 100, the closest person over the next 2 minutes is gonna win. Blake, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Drop some sauce, dude.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate you having me, man. Like I said, this program is full of people who are just absolutely killing it, man. So
100%.
You get around this community, it's hard not to win if you put that work in, man.
Exactly. We want to provide so much value and support. that if you lose, it's because your fault. And I even when people come to me and they don't make it to where they want to, I take responsibility for myself. I want to make sure that everybody comes in is someone like you. You have all these dreams and ambitions, and there's nothing better than actually achieving them, right? One of the things is getting your girlfriend out to Miami. That'd be huge, right? Having her fly out with you, like things like that it's next level, man. We're talking about traveling, all that stuff, man. Because 2 years ago, I didn't even want to. The only travel I did was with my Uber, right, from place A to place B. But now all I do is take Uber.
Now look at you hanging out in Aruba.
I know, it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing. It took a long time to get there. Cool. We're gonna close it out. I'm gonna give it 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blake's number, funny enough, was 24, and the first person to guess got it right. So Mark Casey,
wow.
I'm gonna connect you, which was crazy. He got 21. Out of everybody else got 17, 50, 20. Some people got close, and 24. 21 got it. Mark Casey, let me reply to your message here, and then I'm gonna connect you with Blake today. You guys can chat next week and see if I know Blake can potentially help you out and all that good stuff. So Mark, I just sent you a friend request. So accept that when you get a chance, and then I'm going to again connect you with Mr. Blake. So Blake, any closing words? Anything else that you want to say? Because first of all, I would love to have you back on when you're at 100K. But any closing words for anyone that's noticing? And before, as you think about this answer, I always tell everybody, it was over 40 people that watched it. We actually got up to 66 people live, which is amazing. And I always tell, if you can just help one person, one person can just execute from what you did, their story resonates, they take action, they actually start doing what they're supposed to be doing, then you've succeeded. It's hard to help hundreds of people. It's hard to help 40 people, but just one. So what would your closing message be to the people that are still watching and eventually watching the replay?
My closing message would be that if you're hesitant to take action, to do it, and don't be afraid of what may happen. Ask yourself, like we said, what's the worst that can happen? Take the action, do it consistently, and let that action show for itself. It will be enough information for you to either pivot and learn what you need to change, or it will actually put you in the position that you need to be to start scaling. So take the action, do it consistently, and everything else will come. Quit looking for, I think all of us, we look for like the secret sauce, the secret message. What are we missing? And all along, you have that skill from within you, as well as have the tools available to you. Just take action.
Yes. I love that. Blake, and I'm going to end up with this beautiful quote that Blake said: don't let your fear get in the way of your potential. Don't let your fears get in the way of their potential, right? You were scared of dialing. Some people are scared of the selling process, fulfillment. Don't let your fears get in the way of your potential. Blake, really appreciate you having putting time into this. You answered amazing questions, provided a ton of value. I'm sure at least one person is going to be super happy and grateful to watch this. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching it on Facebook, hashtag the replay, like, comment, spread it out. Our goal is to help new agency owners, struggling agency owners, and anyone that really wants to do what Blake is doing, which is amazing. And really appreciate your time. See you guys next week.